Hey everybody, welcome back to Tathaastu. Today we're going to be talking to you about Bluestar, a movie directed by Jayakumar, starring Ashok Selvan, Keerthi Pandian, Shantanu Bhagyaraj in the lead roles, supported by an excellent ensemble cast of Lizzie Anthony, Prithvi, Ilingovale, and so many other actors as well, right? What can I say about this movie that not a lot of people have said? One thing that I can tell you for sure that is very interesting about this movie is that it takes a very cliched underdog story of sport and how discipline, along with the idea that discipline isn't just about you becoming disciplined as an individual, but also instilling the discipline of how to live a good human life is something that sports can teach you, is something that this movie spends a lot of time on. The characters are very well sketched out. The expectations of each characters are also very well set out in terms of the initial conflict between Shantanu and Ashok Selvan and the difference between the colony and the Ur in this particular case. The fact that there is so much animosity that stemmed because of a sport, and the fact that the sport is the only way by which they can redeem themselves is a very interesting arc in and of itself. Obviously, because it is produced by Neelam Productions, you can always go back to seeing it as a sort of resemblance to Sapeta Parambarai, but I don't really think that it has enough of a resemblance to that. I think it stands out uniquely in and of itself. The good things about this movie. One, I think the screenplay is very, very tight in the first half. The second half of this movie sort of meanders here and there a little bit, but I don't think those are problematic in and of themselves. I do think that the screenplay is tight enough to hold your attention for 2 hours and 15 minutes. But what it doesn't do is resolve certain arcs, which is something that I will come to with regard to things that I thought were not great for me, right? The second thing, I think the music was wonderful. Govind Vasanta is one of the backbones of this movie. The entire movie, the entire background score along with the songs are placed so aptly, and the hype around each incident because of the music is palpable. The cinematography, excellent. The sepia tone in which the actors are seen, because it's in the early 90s, you can literally see and feel the dust that is available in Arakkonam grounds. You can feel the dust, and you can also feel the grime and sweat that is turning up because of the sport in and of itself. It's a beautiful manifestation that has happened on cinematography with this movie. I do think the editing could have improved, but whatever was done, it was excellent in and of itself. There are certain points at which I did think that the cuts did not seamlessly move into explaining why a particular character was, let's say, abruptly removed. But I do think that it could have been so much more better than what it was, but it wasn't bad at all. I think it's a great effort in and of itself, right? To the things that I thought could have been improved. One, I do think that the women in this movie don't get enough scope. For example, other than the fact that there are some characters, some women characters, for example, Keerthi Pandian, who gets an excellent role, but does get shortchanged in the second half. I think by the end of the movie, you feel like Keerthi's entire scope of that character is almost like to create motivation for a show. I think there could have been a lot more soul and a lot more importance given to her character, because she is a very avid cricket fan, a person who knows a lot about cricket, but she becomes more along the line of the motivator in the movie rather than having their own sort of narrative in and of themselves. So I do think that that could have been improved upon. Secondly, I do think Lizzie Anthony's character, while really funny and really, really insightful into the lives of mothers in Arakkonam, gets very stereotyped into being just about a mother who always recites the Bible. I do think that it could have been way more beyond that in terms of just character development. But all of them are colorful characters. So you can't, these aren't, I won't say these are major flaws at all, because all of these characters are very colorful, right? So one, I do think women in this story don't get enough of a motivation or enough of a performance that they can build around in this movie, but I do think it's much better than most other movies for sure. The second thing that thought could have been improved was the second half screenplay. I think the conflict between the league cricketers versus the street cricketers of Arakkonam, I do think that that conflict was very, very relevant, but the ending or the story's crescendo doesn't really give you the high that you really want it to, primarily because not because the fact that you know that this is what is going to happen, but the fact that it is almost done fairly similarly to, let's say, Lagan or any other cricket oriented movie. I do think that there could have been so much more of an impact in this movie. But other than that, excellent performances by the cast. Ashok and Shantanu live and breathe both Ranjit as well as the other characters. I think all of them do a really, really good job. Please do watch this movie in theaters. It needs all your support to become one of the best movies of the early part of this year. I do think it warrants that much of a value. So please do watch it. Have a great week up ahead, everybody, and we shall catch up soon. Toodles.